So before we even start thinking about trying to break open the guard, we have to gain some posture and then create a nice frame in between us. So my hands, I want to try and keep in contact with his body. I'm not going to put them on the floor or just use my elbows here like this. He can easily break my posture again. He can easily sit up. Exactly. So my hands are in contact. Okay. I can just post on the body, one under the rib, one on the hip with my elbows hidden underneath. I don't want to flare my elbows out too much. Again, he can just break my posture really easy. So I'm going to tuck my elbows in. With the gi, we can make grips to help secure us a little bit more. So I can hold the two lapels, pass it to one hand, and point my thumb upwards. My elbow's now pointed down. If he tries to sit up, I can prevent that. If he tries to pull me forward, again, I can prevent that. And now my other hand is going to go and make a grip here on the hips. And this is trying to separate. This is not just like a passive grip here like this. So I'm pushing down and away. So if I was to walk my hips away, it should be very hard for him to follow. So none of this. And if I do grab, it's not pulling up. Down and away. And I'm already starting to arch my back, stretching my back like a cat. Okay, so the first one, we're going to stay right here on our knees. And I need to gain more distance between our hips. So I want to make everything longer, okay? So I'm going to put my knee under his hips. It's like he lifts his hips off the floor as well. It makes it harder for him to start attacking. And the biggest thing with this I see is people break their own posture to put their knee under the butt. To shift their weight, they'll lean forward and they'll get their own posture broken. So we're not going to lean forward on this one. So once we have our grips, here I'm leaning to the side. Knee comes under the hips. Now my base is not as good now, so I just open out my knee. Some guys like to step. That's absolutely fine. I don't think it's particularly necessary. And then I'm going to twist my hips, arch my back to pin open the closed guard. The last 5–10% of it, you'll give them a little shake here. Don't completely rely on this pressure point here like this. Okay, so most of it is just getting longer. So I have my grip, two lapels in one hand. Point the thumb up and I'll make my second grip. Already trying to separate our hips. If he tries to pull me forward now, should be quite hard to do. If he tries to sit up, yeah, exactly, should be very hard to do. I don't want my elbows flared. I don't want my grip slipping to the outside like this. So now I start to stretch away from him. So I lean, knee under the hips and widen the base. So I twist my hips. When I twist my hips, it makes it all longer, and then I stretch my back and sit back on my heels. Once the guard's open, I don't want him to reclose. So I can just bring one knee up to create a shield. So I can sit flat on my shin, this one pointing upwards and out like this. I don't want to, no base here like this, so nice and wide. So we make our grips. Point my elbow down, make my second grip on the hip, pushing down and away if he tries to pull me forward. Now this is always a good test when you're drilling. They can try and break your posture like this, keep your head away from, try not to lean forward like this. So we lean out to the side, knee under the hips, widen the base, turn your hips, stretch your back. If he's got long, strong legs, the little last 5–10%, you can just shake it out. And once it's open, I'm gonna bring that knee up. Make my first grip, I create a nice frame. If he tries to break my posture now, should be very hard to do. I lean out, knee under the hips, spread my base. Remember, we can step if you want. Twist my hips, arch my back and start sitting back. And the guard opens. Once it's there, to prevent you closing again, you can bring up the knee. Now to help me create my frame, I'm going to use his belt. Okay, so hook in here. You don't need your thumbs, you're just going to tuck your palms behind the belt. And we're going to stretch it out as far as we can. So we're going to lock our arms out again, we're hiding our elbows, and I'm already stretching. My hips are already moving back like this. I'm arching my back and pushing forward. Now from here, if he's got short legs, I could just shuffle back and potentially just break that guard open. The more experienced guys aren't going to allow that to happen. So when I start walking back here, his guard becomes longer. So he's going to walk up his guard into a high guard here. which is the correct thing to do. My shoulders are closer, so he's gonna have more success there, but he does create a big gap here in the middle. So this is when we start to stand. So as I build up, I can now drop back down with one knee in the middle. So I step, and as I sit, my knee comes right through this gap. And now any sort of posture and pushing with my knee will just ping those legs right open, and we end up in the same position with a good frame here with the leg. We can start to staple and pass as well. So controlling the belt, remember we don't need our thumbs. We can just push our palms behind the belt like this and extend. If he's got a tight belt and it's not really moving much, we're going to rotate it round and just take one of the loops. I can stick with one, or then I can go and double up. And the same principle as before. When I shuffle backwards like this, I'm not going to break my own posture. It's very common that people lean forward and then walk their butt back. Well, I've broken my own posture. Once my arms are locked out, they're going to stay locked out. I just bury my head and start to walk back. If he walks his guard high, I'm going to stand. My knee can come through the middle here like this. And there's always pressure on him. So I don't want to sit and make him comfortable. My knee is constantly pushing into his hips, his butt, his legs. So as I sit, I posture and I drive my knee through. Here it's very hard for him to close his guard again. I can start to staple and look for my pass as well. On this side. If you have a tight belt, switch it round. I can use one, I can double up on it. But once my arms are locked, they're staying locked. I'm not going to bend like this, and I can hide my head. Any chance of him attempting an arm bar or a triangle here, to a certain degree, is going to work out for you. If he opens his guard, I can just bail out. If you're ever worried about your arms being attacked here, if he starts putting feet on the hips, he's done the job for you. You just bail out and you can start to pass. So if I shuffle back now, if it pings open, cool. If he walks his guard up higher, I can stand. One knee comes in the middle, so if you look at my stance, one foot in front of the other, I drive the knee through, and at the same time, I'm posturing. So I'm not going to sit down with my head low. I'm driving my knee as I start to posture, it pings open. Again, if you're ever worried about your arms, him controlling, you can just tuck your elbows and start to pass. So it's very common here that he's going to continue with his attacks. And a very common attack here is like a cross-collar grip, and he'll start searching for this one, looking for the choke. So I have to recognise this and be sensitive to it. Okay. So when he makes his first grip here, I know eventually he wants to get to this shoulder. So this is what I'm going to try and do. I'm going to try and keep this shoulder away from him as long as possible. And I'm going to. So if he's attacking with this arm, I want the lapel on the same side, and it's going to go over his arm, and I can just pass it to this hand. He's attacking here. I know he wants this shoulder. I'm going to keep turning this way, not allow him to take this grip, and pass it over into this hand. Once I've got this over his arm, I can start to come forward like this, and I can tripod up. All my weight is driving into him. Again, I'm not floating like this. I want him to carry my weight and make it uncomfortable. His guard is closed, so his hips are going to follow me off the floor. And I can start to wrap the lapel around behind. Once I have this grip, I can posture right back up. Now, he's let go. If he does have this grip, he's going to have no strength in this arm. This is easy to go to the grip and start posturing. Now this is out of the game, I can start pressuring the knee. Some guys here will like to stand up and start pushing the knee open. A lot of times, you don't need to. We can just posture. I can use my elbow, I can use my hand, and just pry that leg open. Right away we can start passing. I can keep this grip here as long as I want. I can pass with it, and go to mount with it. Doesn't matter. he starts attacking, recognise this. I know he wants this grip over here, so I'm going to keep it away. And the lapel goes over. Pass it. Once I have it, I'm going to drop right back down. So I tripod up, I put my head right next to his, and I pass the lapel behind his back. This hand is reaching through, I can even walk towards it. And once I have that, I can start to posture. This grip I'm always pulling through. If he continues to hold this, I can go to it with my free hand and break it off. Now I've built my posture, I can start to pry it open. One more. I'm looking away, feed it over. Once I have my grip, it's easy to posture. If he still has it, with your free hand, just break it off. Pry it open, and we can pass. So sometimes when we're here in the closed guard and we're trying to create a frame, this guy's going to do a good job of hand fighting, constantly clearing my frame here like this. So rather than posting on the body, I'm going to go to the source and just control the biceps. Now, me personally, I'd always try and climb and gain a little bit more posture, but it's just going to happen sometimes. He might be very busy getting lapels, I have to keep getting rid of it, so I'm just going to go and stop him by controlling his biceps. Now I can start to stand. Because I have control of his arms, it's much harder for him to go and control my legs. But when I do stand up, I'm not going to have a wide base. I want to hide my legs, so yeah, my base is not as good, but I'm going to be able to attack his hips more from here, okay? So rather than wide leg, narrow, and I'm going to walk my feet in and put one knee right in his gooch, right in his cottage. Okay? Once I have this, I can start to let go of the arms and build posture. So you can see here, as I start building posture, I'm driving his hips away from me with my knee. And the more I posture, the more it's going to pry it open. So hands to the biceps, stand, my feet come in, and I start to walk. And I'm going to get one knee right in his butt. So as I start posturing, I'm driving my knee into his hips, forcing them away. If he's got long legs here, and as I posture it doesn't break, I'm going to go all the way up with my elbows tucked here, and then just drop. And it will ping right open. The outside. So I'm controlling the arms. I build up, walk, I drive a knee in the hole, I push his hips away from me. So I drive my hips forward, I start posturing, I can let go. If you can keep it, perfect. But as I posture, my hands come away. If he's still got it open, come all the way up. And we're not waiting. We're just going to drop, hide our elbows inside. Walk, with that knee right in the hips, extend away, I can posture, and just drop. Elbows are tucked in, so if he wants to attack right away, it's very hard to do. And I can start to staple at the same time. Again, when we're here and we're trying to create a frame, he's going to be hand fighting the whole time, making his own grips. So to avoid this, rather than posting, I'm going to go and control his arm. So usually off a sleeve grip like this, I can just rotate my hand round the corner, control his sleeve, and punch it into his body. My other hand could do the same, but I want to make sure this one is covering his hips. When I come up, I don't want his hips to follow me. So I could have just one sleeve and control the hips, or I could have two and make sure one just covers the hip. So on this side, we're going to step, but not far away like this. I'm going to step in nice and close. This is going to put pressure on his hip. So when I do step here like this knee is going to turn into his body, the other knee is going to come off the floor. I'm going to keep good posture when I do this, and I don't want to let his hips follow. So this downward pressure here is really important. So I'm pinning, I step close, as this knee drops, the other one lifts. Puts pressure on his hip and the legs pin right open. I can drive my knee inside, or I I can tuck my elbow inside. So if he's doing a good job, controlling, I rotate the grip out and pin. This hand, it could just be on the hip. If you want to go and find this one, I can pin it too, but this one's going to make sure his hip doesn't follow. So rather than punch it high, here on the hip. Step, when I do step, it's close to the hip. This won't create any sort of pressure on him. So it's here. I think it's already working. So look, my foot here like this, I'm going to open out my knee. This knee opens out, this one closes onto his hip. And then I can either tuck my knee inside, or if you're really worried about omoplatas, hide your elbow inside. As we're grip fighting, I gain control. I can pin here too. I step close to the hip on my tippy toes as this knee turns in, the other one opens, and I create pressure inwards. Tuck the knee inside, or I can hide my elbow. So the more advanced you get, you're going to start running into problems. The time when we're on our knees here like this, I give my opponent much more options to attack. So sometimes you're going to find it's easier to stand up. You give up some things, you can attack the legs a little bit more. If your timing's not good, your base is gone. But if we can get standing, it's going to help us, okay? So our first one, we go 2 lapels, one hand each lapel. Same thing as before, like I'm not reaching. Sorry, I'm going to tuck my elbows in like this, okay? I want to try and bring him as close to me as possible so it's easy to lift. And now when I pop up to 2 feet, like he's close to me, I can walk my feet in and pick up. Now when I do pick him up, like at the moment my knees are on the outside, so he's quite heavy on my back. If you want to alleviate that a little bit, you can put your knees together and carry him in your lap. Again, it does take away your base, but it saves your back and you're using loads of energy. So play around with it. The heavier guys, you're going to need to put them in the lap. The smaller guys, you'll get away with this. So I can just rest him on my lap. I keep one lapel and I try and keep him close to me. I'm not going to let him extend away from me. Anytime he gets his shoulders to the floor, his options for attack are much easier. So my goal here is to keep his shoulders off the floor. If he does want to attack from here and he has to open his guard, he's done the work for me. So 2 lapels. I'm pulling in. Build up to 2 feet. I keep him close when I pull him up. I can rest him on my lap. One hand stays on the lapel, the other pries it open. Again, I can use my elbow, my hand, but I'm just going to push that knee open. And at the same time, I can bounce it out. Keep the pressure on his leg, and we can start to pin. 2 collars. I hide my elbows, I'm not reaching. As I build up, rest them on your lap. I can use my hand, elbow, but as I do it, as I bounce, it puts pressure on his feet, and it's much harder to keep. So this, again, when I'm here framing like this, he's doing a good job of hand fighting. I rotate, control his sleeve. Again, I'm going to try and control the hip. It could be on the lapel, block him, but now we start to stand. And again, how you stand is up to you. I could jump up both at the same time. I could step one leg, turn my foot out, open the knee. So we can be jumping, or we could do it in installments. But once we get here, I'm going to posture all the way up, and his arm is coming with me. So as I posture all the way up, I'm keeping my elbow close to my body, trying to lift his shoulders off the floor a little bit. So it's fully extended, not really much movement. And again, we can just start prying open. I'm pushing the knee open and driving down. I'm in the hand fight, control his sleeve. I start to build up. And as I posture, his arm comes with me. His arm is fully straight, his shoulders off the floor. Again, if he tries to attack now, he has to open his guard, and he does the work for me. If he decides to keep his guard closed, pry it open, and start the class. So let's assume we couldn't get our sleeve to build up and start pulling. So my hands are going to stay on his chest and I'm going to stand up again. Now at the moment, technically speaking, look, my arms are extended, I'm not controlling anything. You could just start chucking up arm bars, start getting angles. Exactly. So I need to limit his hip movement. So number one, I try and keep his chest flat on the floor. So even just rotating now is a little bit hard. If I'm just like this, not really pinning, it's much easier. Number two is my knees. I want to try and cover his hips a little bit more, and I'm squeezing my knees together. So if he tries to find an angle now, my knees are pinching his hips. So from here, one hand continues to pin. I keep hiding my elbow, I keep covering his hips with my knees, and now I can start to pry it open. Again, if he tries to attack now, his guard opens, I can bail out. If he decides to keep a closed guard, I keep good posture, good pressure on his chest, keep pinching with the knees, and start to pry it open. Again, with the hand, it could be with the elbow. So maybe I can't control. As I do build up, put heavy pressure on his chest. I don't keep my legs wide and my knees open. I try and walk my feet to his hip line and I pinch my knees. If he tries to create an angle now, it should be very hard to do. So I'm not just sticking my butt up in the air. You'll see here, he'll be able to move his hips much more. I want to cover the hips. Plenty of pressure on his chest, hiding your elbow, and we can start to pry open. Continuing with our standing options, I'm going to control his grips as much as possible. This just delays him getting to my legs. A lot of times if I'm here like this, straight away he's already attacking my legs. So now any sort of posture from here, if you control my legs, yeah, he can disrupt me, yeah, potentially sweep me. So for this one at least, we're going to try and control his arms as long as possible. So we can have wrist control, sleeve, but now look, when I'm here, I still have his arms. When I finally decide to posture, I'm going to completely let go of everything and not even allow him to grab something. So I'm not even going to leave my arm behind on this option. What I'm going to do is pry this open. So technically speaking, this is a big no-no in jiu-jitsu. If I'm here like this, I'm prying it open, I feed right into a triangle, and that's absolutely right if you have bad posture. If I have really good posture, even from here, it's very hard for him to triangle me. So good posture, if I'm peeling this open, there's too much space. Yeah, if he grabs a collar and he pulls me down that, of course he's going to triangle me. So timing and posture is very important on this. So when I let go of his arms, I'm coming all the way up. So I'm even going to hide my arms from him. So rather than here, I let him pull my sleeve down and bring everything away. It doesn't matter which arm I go with, one's going behind and just unpeeling. I can step back, I can put pressure on right away. Now what's very common here is as soon as I do let go of his hands, he goes to my legs. And it's very common. So this is why timing is important. As soon as I've postured, I want to be prying open, trying to break this. But it's inevitable, he's going to get to your legs. And sometimes we can preempt it. So as I let go and I posture, I'm already picking a leg up. If I can get a foot behind me, my base is going to be much better. If he tries to push me over now, tries to sweep me, I have base behind me. Whereas the problem is when I have nothing behind me, I can't stop myself falling. So if we can preempt it by posturing, unpeeling and stepping the leg out early, perfect. But sometimes they get good control of your leg. So as we build again and he grabs my leg, I can't just pick it out like this. So I have to kick it out a particular way. I'm going to point my toes towards his head and I want to kick forwards and then loop it out. All at the same time, we're unpeeling. So I control. The second I let go of his hands, I'm posturing, unpeeling, and trying to kick a leg free. Once I've got that leg behind me, I'm good to go. controlling. If he made no attempt to grab my legs, it's easy. There's no way he's going to triangle me when I have this amount of posture. Where you'll get into trouble is this. You're going to get triangled all day. That's why posture is so important. We posture up. If I feel him going for my leg, I can pick it up early. If he manages to get to my leg, if I step back now, I'm going to fall over. Maybe I can't just pick it up, so I point my toes towards his head, I kick it forward and loop it around. All at the same time as I'm peeling. So it's inevitable, if you in training, when we start standing and attempting this large guard pass, they're going to get to your ankles sometimes. That's just the nature of it. Of course, we want to avoid that and start stepping back. But if he does get to my ankles, there's a very good chance that you're going to get swept or potentially swept. So what's very common here, he'll grab both ankles, he'll open his guard, and he'll drive back with his knees, potentially come up to mount. Now look, when I fall, this can be used to my advantage. His guard is now open. I just have to prevent him from coming up. So number one, when I fall, I don't want to completely lay down. I have to post, and I want to try and fall away from him a little bit. This post is really important. And he's going to try and follow. So my other hand is going to post on his body, not on his chest. Don't be tempted to grab his collar or push his chest away. If he controls my wrist now, throws his hips up, and chucks the leg over, I'm going to get armbarred. So the chest is not the problem, it's the hips. So here I can push and I can keep my elbows safe. If he tries to armbar me now, my elbow's too close to my body. Here's the problem. So when he tries to get to mount now, I have a good post and I just technical get up. I drag my leg out, the guard is now open, and we can start attacking right away. So what turns out from a bad situation works in our favour. So as we build up, here, come right open, I'm posting. I made sure I didn't fall over, and I'm posting on his hip. Remember, not on his chest. I want to avoid all the armbar options. Post on the hip, and I'm dragging my leg out. This here will be a little bit of a scramble. If he decides to hold my leg, which is very common, yeah, here, we're in a little bit of a stalemate. To come up, he has to let go of something as well, and then we can drag it out. Cover the knee. Start passing to. Cover the hands, gets to my legs, he drops me to my butt, post, and blocking his hip. As he starts to come up to mount, the leg drags out, and the guard's open, ready to pass. So before we even begin to think about breaking the guard open and passing, we have to stay safe. If my posture's broken here and he has any sort of control, he's going to look to attack. So I always want my arms inside here like this. That's a given. Okay, I want to control as much as possible. But if he has an active guard, he may have taken care of the grips already. If he has an active guard and he opens and he's gripping and I can't just posture out, he's going to start trying to put feet on the hips. Exactly. So this is a problem. If I allow this to happen, he can now start creating angles, looking for arm bars and all sorts of things. So I just want to get rid of this. So the second he goes foot on the hip, I'm going to pummel my hip back inside. So kick my leg out, turn my hip down, let his foot slide off, and walk my leg back in. And I'm always squaring up. He finds any sort of angle, I'm going to square up and cover his hips. So here I'm trying to keep my arms safe, I'm not extending. If he does have really good grips, controlling posture here like this, and he goes foot on the hip, I have to get rid of that. So I kick my leg, I turn my hip down, allow his foot to slide off, and walk my leg back inside. If he ever creates an angle, even without a foot on the hip, I'm just going to square up and keep his hips pinched. Now if he tries to control, put a foot on the hip, I'm locking in the hips. From there we can start to build posture and start passing. So again, before we start posturing and breaking the guard, we have to stay safe. If he's done a good job of breaking my posture and he starts to play a high guard with his legs right under my armpits like this. I'm in trouble now. I don't have as much freedom with my arms. I can't posture, okay? So all I'm going to do here is shuffle my shoulders back inside. If he's really squeezing his knees, he's got a really high guard that I can't really use my arms, I just lean in, head goes in, and I shoulder walk. I just shuffle his legs back down my body, and now posturing is much easier. If he walks his guard up high, just trying to sit up here is difficult. He's going to be squeezing his knees together. He's going to be clamping his heels down. He's going to be grabbing. Maybe I can't just sit up. So I'm going to shoulder walk. Just shuffle his legs down my body. And then posturing is much easier. Of course, I want to be here. He breaks my posture. He starts climbing his guard up. With the real flexible guys, they'll start grabbing ankles and hugging arms. Exactly, so rather than just posture here, shoulder walk in. His legs are now more towards my hips. I can sit up freely. So again, he may have broken my posture, and a very common attack here is the cross-collar choke. So he feeds in a grip, 4 fingers inside, gets to this shoulder, and he gets his other grip. Now we touched on this earlier. Once he has one grip, I know what he wants, so I'm going to try and block it. I keep the shoulder away, I can start trapping the arm. But if he manages to get to it, now I just have to concentrate on disrupting this. So rather than just trying to posture here, again, he's probably going to have a high guard. It's going to be hard to do. So my hands are coming over the top. Hands together, gable grip, and I squeeze my elbows. So I'm pinching. If you let go, I'm just squeezing. It's going to bring his elbows together. And if he tries to finish the choke now, it's going to be very hard to do. You can't bring it into his chest like this. So hands together, collapse it over his arms, and squeeze the elbows. Here, I just bounce it out. So if he's trying to put this choke on, I just bounce out. Now, if he has a tight grip, and I can't just posture up, we'll just ride it out. So his grip's gone. After a while, he's going to notice. If he keeps squeezing from here, he's just going to burn his energy. Then we bounce it. Remember, it's going to be very difficult just to do one snatch. So go post, clamp his arms, and bounce. If he manages to keep my posture broken, I can just ride it out. I can slowly start to posture and then build. Another common way for this man to control posture now is to gain an overhook. What's very dangerous here, well, it's very hard to do anyway, it's just posture. What's very dangerous to do here is just try and pull your arm out. It could potentially lead to a straight arm bar, or if I create an angle, a shoulder lock here, if I keep my head over here, rotate, potentially omoplatas as well. So when he has this grip here like this, number one, let's always try and win this battle at least. So this hand is going to try and win here. I want to control the bicep or the wrist, just not let him get any other sort of grip. And now all I do, I keep my head close, I don't extend away too much. I keep my head close, I turn my thumb down, bring my thumb back to my pocket and swim it through the gap. Just rotate out. And he has his overhook. I'm winning this battle here. I turn my thumb down, bring it back towards my body and swim it through the gap. Now the smarter guys are going to have this overhook with a high guard. So now when I try and loop this through, I run into a roadblock. So I have to create more space. So I'm going to drive my shoulder across his body and try and pull my arm out a little bit. Not enough where my elbow, just find enough space where then you can rotate it out. So your shoulder drives across, you shrug your shoulder, you find space, rotate it out. So if he has a low guard, if his legs are down, the space is going to be there. If he has a higher guard, I'm going to run out of space. I tripod up, a shoulder shrug, and then swim my arm through the gap.